Shadowhunters, Angels and Darkmodders alike, and welcome to my fair and unbiased episode for episode 17 of Shadowhunters Season 2, A Dark Reflection. There is a lot to kind of analyse in this episode, and I am probably not going to do it justice because there's a lot of kind of themes that went on in this episode that would probably take like an hour to properly analyse, but I try to keep these episodes within 20-minute slots, so yeah, good luck, Erin. So the first thing I want to talk about is Malik, because Malik is something that we kind of figured was going to get like some sort of issue before the end of the season. I didn't believe, and I don't know if this is for everyone, but I didn't believe that it was going to be happy families for Malik. To right to the end of the season, there was going to be some sort of conflict because they can't make us happy. They don't want us happy. So the problem that arose was that Alec didn't tell Magnus that the soul sword was not with the Clave. He didn't tell Magnus that that Valentine or Sebastian or whoever it was had the soul sword and not the Clave. He did this with good intentions. We know this because the way he explained it to Magnus was, I didn't want to get the Darkmold afraid, because to be fair, he has a point. If the Darkmold found out that the Clave does not have the soul sword, there would be the possibility of a larger riot than there was the last time on their hands, and they have so much to be dealing with right now, they can't really cope with a Darkmold riot. The problem is that he shouldn't have kept it from Magnus, but it's one of those difficult situations where it was kept from him with good intentions, but those good intentions just didn't work out. Because for me, when it comes to these kind of situations, Alec is still kind of relatively new to the whole relationship game, and even though they've admitted their love for each other, they've had their first time together, they've done a lot of things together, there's still a lot of aspects of a relationship that Alec doesn't understand. And as the head of the Institute now, that makes his relationship with Magnus a lot more difficult and probably a lot more strained, because he has his duty again, he has his duty and he has his relationship. And in his eyes, he was doing the right thing by not telling Magnus about the soul sword. But the way Magnus saw it was that Alec was hiding things from him. He had opened up was it last week or the week before? I think it was the week before last week, or was it? I don't know. A couple of episodes ago, Magnus had really opened up to Alec about his past. He told him about his stepfather and how his mother killed herself and how he was blamed for it more or less, and he felt that this was their way of opening up to each other more and basically just being more honest with each other. And I think he saw Alec not telling him about the soul sword as an act of betrayal. And again, I can see where Magnus would be coming from with that. He bared his soul out to Alec, and then Alec lies to him about something that he probably felt like he should be trusted with. But as I said, the problem is that Alec did it with good intentions. That doesn't necessarily excuse the fact that he lied, but it wasn't a lie out of malice, it wasn't a lie out of an intention to hurt Magnus. In fact, he was lying to try and save Magnus' panic or pain or worry. This is what I mean about there being a lot of themes in this episode. It's not as black and white as, oh, Alec lied and Magnus got mad at him. It's Alec lied at him with good intentions, but that doesn't make Magnus' upset any less valid, and it just turns into like a big complicated issue where you don't know who to side with or who to pin the blame on, or because Alec is at fault for lying, but I cannot be angry at him personally because he didn't do it intentionally, going out with the purpose solely of hurting Magnus. That was not what he was doing. He was actually doing it trying to protect him and trying to protect the Darkmold and trying to protect his duty, because there's not the resources or the time right now to be dealing with a Darkmold uprising. But then on Magnus' side, Magnus has every right to be upset by this because he feels that he should be trusted by Alec at this point. And he had been talking about trust when they were having their meal, and Alec had straight up lied to his face. So it's difficult. This is what I like about the conflict that Shadowhunters writes. It's not as easy as saying, oh, well, it's his fault, or oh, well, it's his fault. It's a lot more what's the opposite of black and white? Would you say colourful? A lot more complex than that. There's no one to pin the blame on entirely. There is people with good intentions making mistakes, and I think that's a very interesting concept to explore, because not everyone lies out of good, like, malice. Not everyone lies with the intention of hurting people. Sometimes people lie to save people pain. Some people lie to make people feel better. Some people lie just because they think it's the best way to deal with a situation. Not everyone lies with... I'm trying to think of a different word for malice, because I'm saying malice a lot. Not everyone lies with bad intentions. And I don't think Alec would have lied to Magnus with intentions of hurting him, because he must have knew on some level that if Magnus found out, he would be very upset. Of course he did. He's not a complete moron. But sometimes we make these decisions to save people we love pain, and sometimes the people that we love will say to us, I don't want you making that decision for me. Tell me what it is. I can handle it. So it's a very interesting conflict to arise for Magnus and Alec, because it's not a clear-cut problem. It's not a clear-cut, oh my goodness, tongue twister here. It's not a clear-cut conflict. And this is encouraged even more by the fact that Magnus has now made the decision to go to the Seelie Queen and tell her that the Clave don't have the soul sword. And this is going to be another conflict that's going to arise that is not going to be entirely Magnus's fault either, because he's doing this as an act of hurt. Again, sort of similar to what Alec did when he was lying. Magnus is doing this even though he knows that it's going to affect Alec's job, what Alec is doing, all the hard work that Alec has put in up until this point. Telling the Seelie Queen this is going to greatly affect that, because Magnus knows how manipulative the Seelie Queen is. He knows how she can twist things. He knows how she works. He's interacted with the Seelie Queen numerous times. So, the conflict next episode with the Seelie Queen is probably going to be the exact same issue, where we can't really pin blame on anyone, because Magnus is acting out of hurt of what Alec did to him without the intention of hurting him. I am not excusing Alec lying. I do think there should be an apology made. But if Magnus goes to the Seelie Queen, he's potentially going to endanger a lot of people, because the Downworld certainly have a right to know that the Clave don't have the soul sword. But the problem is that a Downworld uprising could endanger a lot of people, not just Shadowhunters, but Downworlders as well. It's a very dangerous situation that they're in right now, and that's why they're treading so carefully. And then Robert is probably going to get angry at Alec for telling Magnus, because he's going to say, look, your boyfriend went off and told the Seelie Queen, and look at the issue we have now. So Magnus is making a detrimental decision as well, which could possibly, like, cause a lot of shit, basically. So I'm really liking this conflict, as I say, because it's not easy to sort of discern fault, and it's not easy to blame people or say who's at fault and who should apologise. It's all very complex. It's not black and white, and I really like that we're not getting generic, easy, misunderstanding plot lines from Magnus and Alec, because there's nothing I despise more than misunderstanding plot lines when people could just have a simple conversation that explains everything. Clary, I have no family, Frey, is really starting to fuck me off a bit, and I didn't think about this until someone brought it up on Tumblr. Clary keeps insisting that she is losing her family. She is insisting that she doesn't have anyone left. She was saying about this man who owned this bookshop, who was never mentioned up until this point, was someone she cared about and loved, who was dead, even though he's never came up before now. And she keeps acting like she hasn't got anyone left. Bitch, what about Luke? This act is starting to get very exhausting. She is acting like she doesn't have anyone in her life. She's acting like she has no one whatsoever left since her mum died, since Dot had to stay behind. She's acting like she has no one. And she's so she's so excited about the possibility of Jonathan being alive that she is willing to push aside the fact that he murdered someone just for the sake of having him. I can't help thinking that she seems to forget that her adoptive father is still alive and has been working to help her, has been working with her friends, has been befriending Magnus, Alec, Simon. Jace has been working with everyone for her sake, to protect her, and has only ever said that she doesn't matter once, and that was for the sake of his pack in the Down World. Apparently he doesn't matter to her, and he doesn't count as family. It could be argued that she means blood relatives, but Luke has been there for her since the start. She was cut up in season 1 when she thought that he betrayed her, when he was really protecting her. But she never mentions him. Even if there was one line where she said, Luke is all I have left, or everyone's gone apart from Luke, anything at all would justify the fact that she's still upset about the fact that everyone from her growing up is dying, but she still has Luke. Anything, even one small line, just one reference, anything. Luke is not getting the credit for what he has done for Clary that he deserves, but then Clary's selfish anyway, so I'm not really that surprised. It's just ridiculous. Luke deserves better. Luke deserves better, 2K17. Clary's stance on protecting Jonathan. Another issue that can't really be viewed through black and white lenses. Jonathan is her brother. Jonathan is her real brother. AKA Sebastian is her real brother. And she wants to protect him because he's her brother and she doesn't have a lot of blood relatives left. In a way, it can be understood. Everyone that she has been surrounded by most of her life are dead, apart from Luke, you know, the man who raised her, but we're not going to get into that again. Everyone who she grew up with is basically dead or dying or being put into dangerous situations because of her. And to find out that her brother is still alive when she thought he was dead, well, she thought he was Jason and she thought he was dead, it is a very probably galling experience to find out that someone who you thought was dead all their life is not. And to an extent I can understand why she would want to protect him, but when she got upset at Jace when Jace said that he was going to kill him, I think that she was being a bit unreasonable, because she went on and on about this man who owned the bookstore, who died, who was killed by Jonathan, a demon, and as soon as Jace says, well, I'm going to have to kill him, she's like, what? Like, how could you? What if he's being forced? Like, Clary, if he's being forced by Valentine, that does not change the fact that he has murdered people. That does not change the fact that he is dangerous. That does not change the fact that there are journals of Valentine's describing, most likely, how dangerous Demon Jonathan is. And I feel like she's letting her own selfish desires get in the way again of protecting people. And even when Sebastian attacked him in his demon form, she was trying to talk to him, even though he just threw Jace away, really far away. And she's like, wait, Jonathan, come with us. She's like, Clary, he's a demon, look at him. There is no retrieving him, I'm sorry. And I will excuse her behaviour to an extent, because she thinks this is her brother, but I still think that she's being extremely unreasonable, because it's like finding out that your brother, who you thought was dead, is alive, but he's murdered like 5 people. I wouldn't exactly be excited about that myself, but that's just me. I wouldn't be saying, let's break him out of prison, he's my brother. He didn't mean it. He might have been forced, you know what I mean? Maybe it's just my hatred for Clary getting in the way, but I really don't like her attitude, especially when she looked at Jace as if he was crazy when he said he was going to kill this murderous demon, because how dare Jace suggest such a thing? Because, like, you know, Jonathan isn't a murderer, he's just being forced. I'm glad that the sneak peek for the next episode she said that she would kill Jonathan with her bare hands. I'm hoping that's because of her interaction with Dot. And having to leave Dot behind. Dot, you didn't see me die, so I'm not dead, Rowlands. Is that her surname, Rowlands? I can't remember. Because Dot seems to have this theme going along where you don't see her die, so she's not dead. So that they can have a big reveal where it's like, oh, it's Dot again. They pulled it in this episode when they were just like, Oh, this warlock's dead now. The mark is gone. Which warlock did it go to? Oh, it's Dot. I'm getting kind of sick of Dot. Her character doesn't really add much to the show, in my opinion. And I honestly getting tired of this whole, oh, fake out, oh, it's Dot thing. Because one, Dot's attitude towards Clary is really annoying, that she's like, oh, Clary's the only one I trust. Clary is the only trustworthy person among you all. I don't trust you Shadowhunters except for Jace. No, she doesn't trust Jace. Apart from Clary. And you're like, Clary is like the most inexperienced, untrained, unreliable character in the entire show. And I get that Dot was Jocelyn's friend, but I just can't cope with her acting like Clary's the only trustworthy person of the bunch. It's really annoying considering how useless Clary truly is as a character, to be completely honest. But it's Dot, I guess, who's Jocelyn's friend, so I can't really be that angry. Of course she's going to think that about Clary. Some people said that Jace should have stayed behind instead of Dot, but why? 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 What difference does it make? Dot will probably still be alive, because if you don't see her die, she's not dead. She'll come back probably at some point. And I swear to God, if Clary gets angry at Jace for leaving Dot behind when Dot told them to, I'm really going to get annoyed, because there's nothing I hate more than if a character says, go on, I'll stay behind, and both characters leave, but then one of them tries to take the moral high ground once they're gone and out of danger, and like, you shouldn't have left her. It's like, bitch, you shouldn't have left her either. If someone was going to stay behind, it shouldn't have just been Jace, it should have been Clary as well. But no, apparently Jace should have stayed behind instead of Dot for some reason, and I can't wrap my head around the reasoning why, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I just don't like Dot's character enough that I hope that Sebastian has killed her. So, I don't know, but I just don't get that. Max training and going out onto the field is another interesting conversation. There's two different points of view on this. There's Isabel's point of view, which says no, he shouldn't go out in the field, and then there's Alex's point of view, who's like, he's of age, he's been ruined, it's his time to go out on the field. And the reason that I think that Alec is a lot more secure in this belief is because he's already seen Isabel do such a thing. Alec is older than Isabel, so he's had to watch his little sister get ruined, get sent out on her first mission, having to train. He's already gone through the motions of that, and it has turned out really well. Isabel turned into a really strong Shadowhunter who has achieved many things, who works really well out on missions and is really determined to do her work. So I feel like Alec doesn't have as much of a problem as Isabel on sending Max out into the field, because he's already seen it happen successfully to a younger sibling of his. Isabel hasn't had that yet. Isabel is watching her little brother get forced out into the field. Well, I say forced, Max is more than willing. That she's seeing her little brother getting put out into the field, and it's probably a very galling situation, because there's potential death out there. So I didn't view Alec saying that Max should go out in missions without really thinking that much about it. I don't feel that as Alec being cold or anything. Alec is confident in Max's ability because he's seen how it worked for Isabel. And you know what, it makes sense, because he's seen Isabel go out and be successful, and now he's ready to see Max go out and be successful. Isabel hasn't had that yet, and because Max is tracked Sebastian, who knows if he will or not. So you can say that there's something to be admired about Max's determination, but my God, is he reckless. The end of the episode, he found a hair at the bottom of Clary's box after eavesdropping about them needing to track someone. And he now knows that Sebastian is Jonathan, and who knows how Sebastian is going to react to this. And from a book reader's perspective, I'm very worried, especially with the preview for the next episode. So, yeah, tad worried about Max. Not a tad worried, like big, massive Grand Canyon gorge size of worried about Max. But sadly I have to wait until Tuesday to find out what's going on, find out what the crack is. Oh, I'm worried. I am really worried. Oh, but then what else is new? They always leave us wanting more, they always leave us worried. They always leave us scared, and they always leave us sometimes happy. Sometimes. Very rare times, but sometimes. So that's it for this week, Shadowhunters, Angels and Dark Models alike. I will see you next week for my reviews of episode 18. What is it? awake, arise, or be forever fallen, I think it's called. Very long, convoluted name. I don't even know if that's it properly, but it's something along those lines. So, I'll see you then. Shadowhunters, Angels, and Darkmothers alike. And remember, Luke Garraway deserved better 2K17.